this the second last of our 2025-26 summer series of the Sharing Shed, brought to you by Rural Women New Zealand with the very kind and generous assistance of the Ministry for Primary Industries. So I'm really delighted that Kathryn's going to be joining us this evening to give her take on what we can do to help ourselves, to help others around us, and to be able to recognise and practice the importance of good mental health and wellness. Kathryn will be known to many of you. Kathryn is one of the leading thinkers on rural mental health in New Zealand, trained counsellor, PhD candidate, and very pleased to say a recipient of a Rural Women New Zealand Business Award, the Health and Wellness Award of
23. Yeah.
Nice.
Great experience.
Most recent. Oh, thank you, Kathryn. That's not a plug for everybody to get their entries in the last 4 days before entries close, but if you're thinking about it, we'd welcome them. And Kathryn, most recently, the recipient of the, and I'll get this right for the sponsors, Hydroflow Contribution to Rural Mental Health Award at the Rural Games last week. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Kathryn, you're going to talk to us this evening about how people can manage, maintain, improve, and take care of themselves. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a bit of a mixed bag tonight, actually, but I hope that there's something for everyone. I've got a great slideshow. I'll start screen sharing in a minute. I'm sure that there will be questions, and I'm really happy to answer those at the end. And if I don't get to answer your question, or if you don't feel comfortable to ask in front of the group, please send me a message or an email. I'm pretty responsive. I can't necessarily help you all personally, but I would definitely point you in the right direction. So please don't be afraid to get in touch. So yeah, so let's make a start. Just share my screen. Okay. So first of all, just want to acknowledge my lovely photographers. So you'll notice some great farming photography that I always use, no matter who I'm presenting to, rural, urban, whoever. That I have got my lovely daughter Talia, and I've got a friend Morag Tippik, who this is one of her photos actually, that have some really lovely rural photos. So I hope you enjoy the backdrops for a start. Right, so just for a start, this is a childhood photo of me. I grew up in Te Anau in Southland in a bit of a unique childhood, I guess. That's my dad in the pilot seat. Dad was a pioneer of the venison days, aviation. He's actually 81 and he's not long just stopped flying. So it was a pretty unique childhood with lots of ups and downs, pretty exciting, unusual. So that's where I kind of came from. I grew up in Te Anau. I am a registered counsellor with New Zealand Association of Counsellors, currently a PhD student, which I'll talk a little bit more about, but that is focused on rural mental health, community connection and land use change. I am a mental health first aid instructor for Te Po. I'm actually hosting one of those this weekend in the Omakau community, so that's pretty cool. I am on the Mental Hunts Charity Advisory Board, so we encourage good help seeking for mental health issues for firearms licence holders, so it's pretty important. I teach about being ag informed, so I teach social services about understanding agriculture, especially when they are struggling to perhaps reach those clients. So, and you can probably think about the reasons why that would be. I write. I've written about almost 400 articles and posts on rural mental health, and currently I have a book in the works that compiles all of those into about 30 sections. So it's pretty exciting. And aside from that, we are deer and beef farmers in Te Anau. So my husband does most of the work on the farm. So so that's who I am. Lots of things going on. I just thought I'd talk a little bit about my pathway to where I've gotten, because I want you to know that even if you are isolated, even if you are on farm, that it seems impossible, that actually these things are possible. So I started, I went back to university about 12 years ago, and I started with a double BA in psychology and sociology. Finished that and went on to do a Bachelor of Social Services and Counselling. You need a specific counselling degree to be a counsellor. I did a master's degree in counselling. I focused on young rural men and how they tend to not seek help for mental health issues. That was pretty great research. Lots of stuff, good stuff has come out of that, and currently a PhD. And up until last year, I hadn't really set foot in a tertiary facility, so it's possible. Like Innes just said, I am a Rural New Zealand Award winner. I won the Business Award in 2023. I also won the top prize for my university in 2022 for my research on young rural men. And I have, like Innes said, just won another award with the Rural Games, which was pretty cool. So it's very rewarding work. Mental health first aid. So I am an accredited instructor. So I teach general and youth mental health first aid. So it's for all people that deal with all walks of life to know what to do, what to say, what not to say. A little bit like, I guess, physical first aid until an actual practitioner can take over just what to do until then. So it's also pretty rewarding as well. Just what I said before about ag-informed training. So I really enjoy delivering this, just teaching social services about agriculture. Why do the different stages of dairy farming through the year affect their clients? Why does lambing affect people? What might happen, say, if there's a downturn or a poor payout, things like that, and how to relate to people. So I really enjoy that too. And Mental Hunts, if you don't already follow them on social media, please check them out. They're doing some great work for firearms license holders. Unfortunately, it is a barrier for people seeking help if they have a firearms license, but we want to encourage good help seeking, and actually things have got better over the last few years. So it's a pretty great organisation. So the message there is it's never too late. You're never too old, and your location is not a barrier. So think about that when you feel ready, I guess, if that's something you're into. So rural women deserve their own conversation, as you know, because obviously probably a lot of you are rural women tonight, as am I. So it was interesting when I did my research on young rural men that I had this come to me a lot, that yes, rural women have their own, and absolutely agree. However, when you are doing research, it's sort of counterproductive to concentrate on more than one demographic at once. So this one is a little bit different, but in the research that I am doing now, it's about a 75% response rate from rural women. So there's some really interesting insights, and while I'm not ready to publish yet, it's certainly informed the way that I speak and write and I guess work as well. So I hope that you can get some insight from this tonight. We have multiple roles, so depending on if you work on the farm, but even if you don't, you're driving long distances, and that's hurting with fuel at the moment as well. So you're looking after kids. You might be actually what I call sandwich generation, and you're looking after not only dependents, but you're also starting to do things for older parents or grandparents. So you're like the meat in the middle of the sandwich. So it's a pretty tough time sometimes. Distance and isolation, obviously, that's going to bite in different ways. It's hard to overcome some of those things. You do, however, have a deep connection to the land and to traditions, and that's actually a protective factor. So when we know where we've come from and where we know where we're going, what people have done before us, what's, you know, what we're capable of, I guess that helps us rather than having no roadmap whatsoever. But we're often not supported well by health and social services, and these are always changing. It depends on funding, staffing. There are so many different factors here, and I don't need to tell you guys this, you know this already. But certainly we have a lot more difficulty engaging with these services than if we were urban. So that's something that we constantly have to deal with, and probably all of us, no matter where we are in the country, to be honest. Just going to talk about the invisible load for a second, and this is absolutely not just for rural. Obviously, this is something that I'm seeing and hearing about more and more on social media. That could be my algorithm, but I don't think so. I think that this is across the board. It's worth talking about. So what is the invisible load? It's something that we carry quietly, so we don't make a fuss. It's almost something that's socially expected of us. It doesn't show up on a to-do list, so it's not like pick up milk and bread from the shop. It's it's check to see if the dentist has got back to you about such and such appointment, or check to see if anybody's done anything about such and such a person's birthday. It's things that we think about constantly in the back of our mind that might not be overt. And again, you all know exactly what I'm talking about here. It might be filling the gaps or home and community that aren't always obvious, and they are, although they feel different, they still take up as much mental space, whether that's in the home or a community, expectation. It includes emotional support roles when things go wrong as well. So if somebody has a sudden crisis, and that crisis might not be overtly, bad or difficult, but it's a crisis for that person, might be one of your children at the time, that you have to drop everything and deal with that. Only you can't drop everything. You have to just absorb it and keep going, I guess. So that's what that is. Bringing it out into the open. So what does that look like? It creates space for self-compassion. So when we acknowledge it, we acknowledge it's hard. We're not going to solve it. We're not going to solve it here tonight, especially. It does involve shared responsibility and healthier ways of coping, which I will go more into. But I guess don't feel like this is something that does have to hide in the darkness. This is something that we can talk openly about. It's getting more recognised. It is absolutely valid what you are thinking and feeling about this. So this is where self-compassion plays a huge role. I want to introduce this topic with caution because it's a massively powerful tool. It's one I use every day in my work and with myself, to be honest. But it's something that often when I first introduce the idea, people often have a bit of a, not a negative reaction, but I suppose suspicious might be the word. So suspicious reaction, where people think, well, if I'm not hard on myself, how can I propel myself forward to be better? But we don't kind of work like that. Okay. So self-compassion is a practical tool that will protect our well-being. All of these points that I'm about to go through, if you are interested to know more, the leading world researcher on self-compassion, her name is Kristin Neff, Dr. Kristin Neff. She's an American researcher. I really urge you to look her up. She has podcasts, books. I've got most of her books in the bookshelf there, and does all sorts of, like, she does a weekly newsletter if you sign up. She's pretty cool. So check her out. Okay, so just to go on to that, it changes how we relate to stress and pressure. So once we stop being hard on ourselves about how we are dealing with things, good things can happen and good changes. So it does give you permission to be human, because guess what? You are human. So this is just acknowledging that, and that we aren't robots. We're not made to withstand all things all the time. So it softens that harsh inner voice. Like I was saying, a lot of people think, oh, if I don't have that harsh inner voice, what's going to propel me forward? What's going to make me try and put in the effort? Well, it doesn't kind of work that way. And I'm going to do a little exercise in a minute just to prove this. So what self-compassion actually is. So there are 3 well-known steps to self-compassion. So it's treating yourself as a friend, turning your kindness inward with comfort and compassion. So if you think about how we treat other people versus how we treat ourselves, often there's a big divide there. So that's an exercise that we are going to do in a minute. It's common humanity. So knowing that we aren't alone, others struggle along with you. You are certainly not doing this by yourself, and you're not the only person in the world. Other women feel tired, they feel overwhelmed, and they feel like they're being worn thin. So you are definitely not alone. If you were alone, imagine how tough that would be if you were the only one. So the third component of self-compassion is mindfulness. So that's a word that I sometimes approach with a bit of caution as well, but it is noticing your internal and external experiences without judgment. So acknowledging your experiences. So I feel overwhelmed without then going on to say to yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be able to do all these things. It's just going, yep, there it is. I feel that way, and letting it be there, as hard as that may be. And it's counterintuitive. I understand this. There are barriers to self-compassion, which we will have a quick look at before we do an exercise. So being busy and having a lot on, we actually are socialised and expected to just power through. That we, again, going back to that invisible load, we're expected to look after the kids, perhaps our parents, perhaps our partner's parents, things for the school, things for other people, other things going on, that we're expected to be able to do all those things. So that is a barrier if we cannot slow down and listen to ourselves. We are discouraged from making a fuss. That we, even from when we were little girls, that we have been told that good girls just are quiet, we put up with things, we take things on, that, you know, if we make a fuss, then we're being a problem, or we're being high maintenance or something like that. So that is there. Everyone else's needs seem to come first, particularly in motherhood. But not only in motherhood. So if you don't have children, this very much applies to you. If you have aging parents or siblings that have needs, or even at work as well. So definitely exists for all of us. Perfectionism. Perfectionism will absolutely sabotage this, because it will constantly tell you that you aren't good enough. And this thought of you aren't good enough is probably the most common problematic thought that I see in people. So keep that in mind as we go through. Confusing self-esteem for self-compassion. So I remember the good old days where self-esteem was the word, that if we could just get our children to have more self-esteem, or we could just have more self-esteem. The thing is that self-esteem relies on external validation from other people, and great, fantastic. If you can get that, if you've done something that deserves it, that's fantastic too. But the thing is that it's not totally in our control. So we don't know if it's coming or if it's not. We don't have much control. However, self-compassion is completely accepting of us. It does not have any barriers when we learn how to do this. It's there when we need it, as a tool, as a self-soothing method that we can use at any time. So everyday moments of compassion. Before we go into one exercise, there are actually moments of self-compassion peppered throughout your day. There are some here that I'm going to explain to you that you don't even have to try, really. They are already there. So why not start with that? So awareness of tiny decisions that protect your energy. And I'm going to nail this one down as one that will come back to when you are asked to do something and you feel as though you have to say yes, and you don't. In fact, if you say yes straight away, quite often, this is what I hear from my clients, and I've been there too, I know about this, that you need time to be able to think about whether this is something that fits with you. So a really great comeback is, can I get back to you on that one? Think about it. Does this fit with who you want to be, what you want to do? Do you have time? Do you have the energy? So that's the tiny decisions that protect your energy. So things like that. Of course, there are others, but often they are dealt with by just having a little bit of time in between when you've been asked and actually giving your response. So time is the key. Choosing rest over exhaustion. I know that this is hard, especially if you have young children, but actually we need to rest our body. We are holistic beings, and if you are going all the time, that it's not sustainable. So even just having lying on the couch for 10 minutes or lying on the grass, even better, combine nature. We know that that's a protective factor as well. So just being in the sun, or having having your breakfast in the sunshine, sitting on the step, just having some rest, it will absolutely be a protective factor for you. Let yourself feel what you feel. So like I said before about allowing what you're feeling, let it be there without judgment. So you feel overwhelmed, there it goes. You feel overwhelmed, allow it to be there. You feel pissed off, there it goes. Allow it to be. There's a reason that you feel this way, and denying that you feel this way is not going to get rid of the emotion. So allow it to be there, and rather than damming it up like a river, it will flow through in its own good time. So even if it's an unpleasant emotion. Speaking kindly to yourself, again, this comes back to direct self-compassion. So instead of, I'm not going to ask you here to change your thoughts. I know that's difficult, but instead of saying, come on, you should be able to handle this, you should be able to do better, you know all the stuff, you're better than that, that you would also say to yourself, but also this is hard, other people struggle with you, anybody would struggle with this, whatever you would say to a friend. So that's always a good way to look at it, asking for help when needed. And we will talk a little bit about resilience in a minute, but know when the time is to put your hand up and ask for help, and allowing imperfection. So I said before about how detrimental perfectionism can be. Actually, is good enough okay? Is it going to get you through? Probably, and it will save and protect your energy. Quick self-compassion exercise. Okay, so I just want you all to just think about a problem that you're facing right now. It could be anything at all. It could be to do with friends. It could be family, finances. It could be to do with anything at all. So think about this problem and notice what you're telling yourself about how you're dealing with it. It could be, like I said before, you should be dealing with this better. You shouldn't be having to deal with this. Now turn it around and imagine that a close friend of yours is having this very same experience. What words would you offer them? Would it be words of comfort, or would it be this harsh response that you have gotten to the habit of speaking to yourself with? It's probably going to be something a little bit more comforting, and maybe you're cheering them on, telling them they're doing the best. Now turn it inwards. This is how this begins. It begins by being our own cheerleader. We know that you've probably all heard of the metaphor about the donkey and the stick. Which one actually gets us a better outcome? Whacking the donkey with a stick or tempting it with a carrot? We know that it's a carrot. So why not you? Why not frame this for yourself when it could help you so much? Okay, just going into resilience a little bit, and you're probably wondering, how does this all back on to everything? But I can assure you that it does. What it's not toughing it out. So we have got these ideas about what resilience is and isn't. It's not toughing it out. It's not bouncing back. So it's not bouncing back to what we were before. Absolutely not, because stuff has happened. How could you ever be the same? It's not putting up with any old behaviour from people. So we don't just lie down and be a martyr, and we don't put up with everything. What it is adaptability. It is adjusting to factors outside of your control. So whether it be weather, family, community needs, limited resources, these are things that you can't control, that you can either choose to fight against, or you can choose to go, okay, yep, that's there. What can we do to work around this? So it's recovery. So like I said before about rest, it's the ability to rest and reset and recalibrate. So I like the word recalibrate rather than resilience, because it says that, we are adapting to what's going on. We're not going back to normal, but we know new information now that we can go forward with. So, but without recovery, resilience becomes endurance and burnout. So, and that's not where we want to head, really. It's support. So this is the backbone of resilience. Small communities are built on interdependence. It's neighbours, friends and family. We need those people around us. It's a shared strength rather than solo act. We saw this after the cyclone. We've seen it in various weather events and other events, even now with the things that are going on with fuel. We can't do these things alone. We weren't made to do these things alone. We've come from evolution. In evolution, we've come from clans of people who helped each other. So we don't just stop being like that. We're still those people. We need to reach out when we need to. That's resilience. So why does this matter? So redefining resilience is adapting, recovering, and seeking support. It means that we do stop measuring ourselves against the impossible. So just putting up with any old thing and bouncing back to normal. So it feels a lot more achievable because it is more achievable. It fits with who we are as humans. So recognize that there is strength in help seeking. There is wisdom in resting, and actually there's courage in just being human, because that's what we are. We can't deny that fact. We can't change that. Okay, so this is what builds not only a strong individual but strong communities as well, which I will just touch on as well. Okay, so loneliness and isolation. Okay, I'm just going to go back to that one. Sorry. No, okay, I'm not. So loneliness and isolation are terms that do get a little bit mixed up and put into the same categories when we read about them. Just wanted to differentiate between the two. So isolation is when we have practical factors that keep us apart from people. We might have strong connections and good friendships and good support networks, but things like long distances, long hours at work, money for fuel, especially at the moment, things like that keep us from being with our people. That's isolation, okay? Loneliness is when you are potentially surrounded by people or not, but you might feel this in a crowded room. You might feel it with people that you don't know well or don't have a connection with. But loneliness is when you do not have a meaningful connection with people. So both of those factors, unfortunately, can hit rural women. Usually, when we look at urban populations, it's normally just the loneliness factor, because the isolation doesn't really exist because of the close proximity of people, if that makes sense. So just a bit of knowledge for today. Right, so just a little bit about community intervention. So I have run my fair share of different courses, things like that in communities, and I've noticed some things along the way. So I thought it would be interesting to share those. Community connection. So anything that involves connecting people together, that goes without saying probably. When we connect, this is a protective factor. It's good for us as people. It's good for our mental health collectively and individually. So very important. Connecting with people, anything that involves physical movement. So you think about your 6 a.m. boot camp people and your buggy fit classes and your seniors walking groups, or your Tai Chi in the park, anything like that. Even though none of these things are directly talking about mental health, these are the things that will protect and preserve good mental health. So don't underestimate them. Anything that increases learning, so there might be, I don't know, like a sourdough workshop or a Toreo class, something like that. Anything like that you are learning is protective for our mental health. Anything that gives back, so that includes volunteering, collecting, working for a few hours for a non-profit, anything like that, giving back comes full circle. So it helps, obviously, the people that you help, but it goes full circle back to you and you get a sense of purpose in doing that. So I encourage you to, if there's anything that resonates here, please check it out in your own community. Being present and in the moment, so anything that focuses on the now. So hunting's always a really good one for that, but it could be being in helping at the community garden or at the Arts Society, something like that. Connecting people with nature, so it could be a tramping club, a walking group, rowing, paddleboarding, anything that connects us. So they are the main protective factors for mental health. You'll notice that they overlay quite well onto the mental health foundation 5 ways to wellbeing, even though there's 6 there, but they do quite well. So don't underestimate how important they are. These things will all strengthen your wellbeing 100%. Okay, right. So who is struggling with isolation the most? Now, these are some insights, early insights from my most recent PhD research, also from my work as well. So I work with a lot of rural people too. So it's young parents. So young mums are telling me that it's difficult to do anything when you don't have reliable childcare. Maybe you're away from your support networks, your partner's working big hours. I get it. This is tough. You aren't alone. So if you are in that situation, you are certainly not alone. Empty nesters and older women, so your children have left home, or perhaps you don't have any at all. And so all of those 3 groups are what I'm hearing who are the most isolated and or lonely at the moment. I would suggest that if you do fit into any of those categories, that you go back, and I know that there will be a link to the slideshow when you get sent the recording. Please check out those ways to wellbeing again and think about what's possible for you in your community that fits into those. There's a direct path to wellbeing for you if something fits there. So what do rural women with children experience? Again, from my research and my work, difficulty attending events without childcare, wanting kid-friendly social options. So obviously it's easy to take your kids along if that's possible, but there's a lack of things there. Again, this is all so much more difficult with fuel costs, and I recognise that. So feeling cut off during maternity leave, the emotional toll of being home alone on the farms. We used to be bordered by family, close friends. That's how rural New Zealand used to be, but more and more, we're, especially in dairy, that we're becoming more transient. We're losing those support networks, and that kind of makes me sad. And I think about that and what we could do, but don't have a solution. But again, I see you're not alone. So mental health complications. Okay, so these are what I see, again, both work and research. There is a lack of access to services. Like I said at the start, this is a rural problem. If you were in an urban centre, you'd probably be able to get a lot more than you do. It's just an unfortunate fact at the moment. Social anxiety, I see that a lot. So wanting and needing to be around people, but yeah, that's tough. Good example of that is straight after our COVID lockdowns, how many of you found it difficult just to jump back into the world? It was pretty tough. So that's a little taste of social anxiety. Lack of help seeking. So people not knowing how or where to go, and fair call. I mean, it's hard to know. GP is often a good place to start, by the way. Lack of support, again, moving away from support networks, that will do that to anybody. So what supports are available? I can't speak directly for your area and what's available, but I can give you some general direction. Okay, so like I said before, a GP in your area will have a good idea of what's available in your area. A lot of larger health centres have a HIP and health coach. So a HIP is health improvement practitioner. It's a mental health professional that gives free 20-minute appointments. You often don't need to book in, and it's not going to go deep into your childhood or anything like that, but will help you for the day-to-day things. Most of our PHOs will fund brief intervention counselling, which is 5 free sessions with a trained counsellor. You don't always get to choose, unfortunately, who you get, but that's there. Gumboot Friday, for all its criticism, does have a great service. So up until the day before a person's 26th birthday, Gumboot Friday sessions can be funded with certified counsellors. So that's always a great option. ACC sensitive claims. I do a lot of ACC work myself. So if you have ever had any unwanted sexual contact in your history, as long as it happened in New Zealand, you are likely to be eligible for an ACC sensitive claim, which, believe it or not, is 80 to 100 sessions funded through ACC. So they have a great website. I think it's, yeah, you'll have to Google it. I think it's I Want Help or something like that by ACC. So it's a great service. If you are on a WINS benefit, you can get help through the GP for counselling funding. Rural Support Trust are really good as well. So if you do need practical help, mental health help, they are often do have their finger on the pulse of what's available in the area as well. So there is help out there. Fully empathise with you that it can be hard to know, though, what to do and where to go. Okay, so a basic mental health care, I always chuck this in, and I always put this, I always ask people this when I see them, and they're like, why are you asking me this? What's this got to do with mental health? Everything. It's got everything to do with mental health. If you can concentrate on getting a decent sleep, feeding yourself properly, and moving your body, and they are all things that you can physically work on, especially the nutrition and the movement. It will affect how you feel. I don't have time to go into all of these things today, but don't underestimate how much these things will affect your mental health day to day, how you can shoulder frustrations, deal with the hard stuff. It's worth consideration if you haven't already. So into friendships now, and I know we've gone a little bit over time, but are we good for another 5 or 10 minutes in us?
Yes, please.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So friendships, they are protective, they are life lengthening, and they give us meaning. I alluded before to the fact that we have evolved from, I guess, clans of people from the Paleolithic days where we needed people around us to protect us, to share knowledge, medicine, childcare, food, all of those things. And actually, we still have those I guess, desires and needs within us. So very important for us. Okay. So there are 3 S's to friendship. I thought this was quite a nice frame to frame this, because it just encapsulates in a nutshell what I'm trying to explain to you. So friendship, symmetry. Okay, so we have things in common. This does not mean you have to be exactly the same, but you roughly have the same values, roughly similar ways of thinking, and similar ways, I guess, of going about the world. So it's not everything, but it does count for something. Support. So this goes both ways, that you will be a support for your friend and they will be a support back to you. If it's one way, so if you're giving support to someone all the time and you're never getting it back, that's not sustainable, and you're not reading that wrong. So normal to want to keep making it work, but in the end, you're going to need support yourself one day. Secrecy, that does not mean we're not going to tell anybody anything, we're going to keep it all a secret. What this means is that you feel free to talk, I guess, honestly about your experiences without the fear of it getting repeated word for word to somebody else. So there's a degree of, I guess, trust there where you feel that won't happen. So really important. Okay.
Oh, Kathryn, you've just muted yourself.
Oh, I'm moving my chat bar around. I accidentally shut the audio button. Sorry, guys. So you would not believe, or maybe you will, about how much this comes to me, that people want friends, but they don't know how to make that first jump. And I'm going to tell you some insights that I think might help you here. Okay, so vulnerability, and this is another one of those sort of controversial words where, oh, it's just crying to people and it's just doing this and doing that. Yeah, it might be that as well, total fair call, but it's also saying what you think and feel about things. It's saying or sharing your hopes and dreams and your fears and and what you want for your children, and what you think about things that are going on, and sharing that in a respectful way that you feel safe to do that. So that's vulnerability, and it's actually really hard to create a friendship without it. It's one of the main ingredients. It's like flour in a cake recipe, I suppose, is a good way to describe it. Okay, so trying new groups. I talked a little bit about before about what sorts of community interventions might help us and our mental health. On an individual level, I want you to look into this. If this is something that you feel like is missing, there will be something. Like, I live in a tiny community in Te Anau, but we have this multi-page document of about 6 pages, and there's something there for everybody. And I feel sure that even though you probably live in small communities, there will be something for you as well. And even scarier, what can you start? Can you start something? And this doesn't have to be big, but can you start a book club? Could you start a play group? Could you start a knitting group? It sounds really funny, but it's actually really quite cool now. So what are you willing to do? Because it's not going to come to you. And I know that's hard to hear, but if you want to create more connections, what are you willing to do? Even if it feels scary, take that fear with you, put it in your top pocket, do it anyway. So changing friendships. This is something that will happen to all of us, especially if we grow and change over the years. It's very normal. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on then. There's a saying that says, we are the sum of the 5 people that we're closest to. And I used to hear this and think, that sounds a bit too simplistic. But I actually think now there's some truth in it, that the people that are around us at one time, they do reflect our common interests. But say you do further study, or you have children, or you do other things, that people might drop off along the way, and that might hurt, but you'll probably pick people up. And we haven't got time to go into all of that today, but I think that this is normal development. So along with conflict. So conflict is something that we can't avoid, particularly if we're in a stage of changing as well, and what we do and what's important to us, our values, that it's really hard. So if you are in some kind of conflict with a friend, and it's super common, want you to know, again, you're not alone. You don't suffer alone with this. That if you are dealing with that at the moment, think about your values, what's important to you, and what do you want to be able to say in the future about how you handled this situation. Do you want to be able to say that you handled it with honesty, compassion, flexibility? What is it that you want to be able to do that you won't have any regrets about? Bring in self-compassion. So here's this really powerful tool that we've got there on tap when we want it. So this is hard. We don't suffer alone. What would you tell a friend about this situation? And know when to walk away. You don't have to put up with being treated like rubbish, being stood up all the time, having people gossip about you. You don't need to put up with that. So know when that has turned the other way, that you need to do that, so you don't have to suffer through. Okay, so in my research, just in a nutshell, in my most recent research, I heard loud and clear how much connection matters to people. So that was all rural people across the board. I'm going to say particularly rural women, because we don't get always, unless we're working, that connection with, reps and workmates and other people like that. Values matter. So the things that are important to people tend to guide people what to do, how to handle a situation. Being seen and understood matters so much. Being invalidated or ignored is pretty hurtful, and that does happen in the farming community from different sources. Self-compassion is a protective factor. Isolation and loneliness do exist, like I said, especially for women with young children or with no children at home. So that is very early findings. I will be publishing more about it, but that's kind of what I've got at the moment. So, okay. So some final thoughts. Treat yourself with the same kindness as you would others. This is not something that you're going to change immediately with the flick of a switch, but you can start to notice, how are you talking to yourself? Is that how you talk to a friend? Um, it's something that you can exercise, a muscle that you can build, and I'd love you to look more into it if this resonates with you. Think about how to create or strengthen your networks. They're not going to come to you. What are you willing to do? Even if you feel afraid, even if this is anxiety provoking, what can you do for yourself? Challenge the just get on with it narrative. We're not robots. We have a lot more going on. We have quite a complex world now compared to even a generation ago. So things have changed. Make time and space for yourself. Who are you? Who did you used to be? How can you bring those things back? And you're still there. But what can you do to find some of the ways that you used to be, that used to give you joy, I suppose? Okay. And that is the end. Total self-promotion here, but please follow me on Instagram if you're interested. I do post a lot on there, so that's where I post most of my stuff. Yeah, any questions? I'll stop sharing.
Well, thank you, Kathryn. That was an amazing run through about the factors which affect so many people in our community, and some really, really simple and I'm sure very, very effective things that people can do to provide themselves with some self-compassion, some kindness,
Yeah,
and hopefully help improve their mood, help improve their mental health and wellness. I'm sure there will be some questions. I've certainly got some.
yeah.
Just
Fire
while we're waiting, so how do you go about, if you've got some concerns about a friend or a family member, how do you go about talking to them about it, about
mm-hmm.
how they're, whether it's you're concerned about depression or some other indicator of mental illness or being unwell?
So there's one concept that I would like to introduce to you all, and I call it dance in the dark and lead to the light. So no matter what we do, we first have to approach somebody with compassion and acceptance. So what you would do is that you would you would pick a time and place. So you obviously wouldn't do it when they were heading out to pick up kids or they were busy in the middle of something. You wouldn't do it when in front of a lot of other people. You would pick that time and place. So when you sit down with them, that you would essentially, no matter what is going on, and even if they are, for example, using alcohol to self-medicate, that you wouldn't say, you've got to stop drinking, it's hurting you, you have to stop, it's no good for you. That you would say, I can see that this is a really hard place to be, and that alcohol's, it's working for you as a, I guess, to help you get through, isn't it? But I can see that it's going to hurt you. So that's dancing in the dark. It's being with them in their hard place first, but then you would gently lead them to the light. So what that means is it could be practical help. So it could be, can I help you to find some professional help? Or, and if that's hard for you, can I have the kids while you do that? Or can I feed the dogs while you, while you're away for the night, having some downtime with your family? It might be something practical like that. But never ever use, I call toxic positivity, where you'd say, but look at everything going for you. Look at your beautiful kids, and look, you've got plenty of money, and you've got this coming up. That's going to absolutely invalidate somebody immediately. So be really aware of that people just want to be seen, whether you agree or not. So, and then comes the practical help. So, yeah.
Thank you. Toxic positivity, is that another way of saying gaslighting?
No, not well. I guess they're related. Toxic positivity is using your positive factors in your life to stamp out your feelings and your thoughts and feelings about something. Gaslighting is when you would try to make a person believe that their experience is not real. So yes, very related, but kind of not exactly the same. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do have some questions coming in now. Kathryn, can you read those?
Hang on. I can see the chat bar.
Yeah. I can.
Okay, what else can we do when multiple isolation factors occur, such as extensive road closures for remediation alongside rising fuel costs? Oh, I can't use the boat. Oh, man. Uh, Wherever you are, that is tough. And I would hope that you're not alone in this. Um, I wouldn't always advocate this, but I certainly think that there's a place for it. We've got online communities for everybody, and it's not a substitute all the time, but absolutely, if you can join communities that are also struggling, there's NZ Farming Mums on Facebook. If you can connect with other people that way, I think that's great. Do you remember in lockdown? I mean, some of you may or may not. I worked at a school at the time, and that was crazy. But we used to have like multiple room Zooms where we'd kind of socialise, and that was pretty cool. I wonder if there are other people in that situation that you could bring that back. But as far as the practical factors, that's a tough one to solve. I hope you've got a really good advocate or MP in that area that's advocating for you there. And let's hope that it's a bit disappointing with the government announcement today. I was like, what about our rural people? That I thought that was tough. So that's just me thinking out loud. Okay. Next question. Is there an online list of certified coaches who do remote support that I could add my resilience mentoring services to? Sorry, I don't know. I'm not in the coaching realm. I certainly could answer that for registered for social workers, counsellors, etc. Don't know if anybody does know. Please chuck it in the chat. But sorry, I don't know the answer to that one. Oh, that's the only two there. Okay. Has anybody else got any questions?
Come through. Now, when you were talking about self-compassion, you talked about Christina Neff.
Oh, Kristen Neff. Yeah, so Neff is her last name. Yep, can't miss her. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
so how did you come across Christine?
Oh gosh, I've been reading her work for years. I've got most of her books. She's got workbooks. She was pretty much, I think, the first person to research this phenomenon, and now it's kind of taken off, and it's accepted in the world of mental health treatment now as a main component. So it really is that powerful. There's lots of metaphors, quite good ones that we didn't have time to go into tonight, but please check it out. She's great. So yeah.
Thank you. You talked about, so at the beginning you talked about the invisible load, sort of taking things upon yourself, taking on others' crises. Can you talk a little bit more about bringing it into the open and how you would go about doing that without creating, I guess, well, no. How do you go about bringing that into the open?
Oh, that's a really good question, Innes. I want to really avoid saying to everybody, just make a list and delegate, because as we all know, that's actually part of the mental load, is having to do that. And I get that. So I think that it's something that has to happen slowly over time. That, for example, if you've got teenage children, that they know that a boundary that they must adhere to in your home is that they have to put their own washing in the washing machine. That things are expected of people, and if these things haven't been done all along, I totally empathise. It's going to be hard to change that, but maybe with the bigger things, it is a good idea to explicitly ask somebody, even though I hear you, it shouldn't have to be something that you have to do, but maybe it is a one-off that you just have to say, hey, I'd really like you to, from now on, to be able to pick up the kids on a Thursday so I can go to yoga or whatever it may be. So it really is about roping in other people to help us. It's like I said, it's how we are made. But yeah, I don't want you to fall into the trap of having to organise the people to do that either. So it's a work on. I think it's a work on.
Thank you.
I see there's another question here. So unemployment is hitting rural women as well. Any tips on navigating this challenge when a lack of purpose or reason to get out of bed disappears. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's real. And I think that unemployment it's actually something that's hitting many sectors. So although our isolation makes it a little bit tougher, yeah, totally, it's hitting all people. So honestly, what I would do, so thinking back to myself when I have an 18, my youngest daughter's 18, and I'm just thinking back to when she was small and I couldn't commit to any employment. It wasn't that there wasn't any, I just wasn't ready or I couldn't do it. And that I volunteered. So I became a volunteer for victim support at that point. I'm not saying that's the silver bullet. In fact, they don't take volunteers anymore anyway. But like I said before, with those community well-being tips, I guess the connection, the physical movement, the learning, the giving back, if you can find something that is manageable for you, even just for a couple of hours a week, that it will open your mind up to learning, to giving back, if that is feasible for you. I know that might come with the challenge of fuel, distance. I know that, and I feel that too. But if there's something that you can do, it will keep you connected to people as well. There's a whole lot of good there. And you can put this stuff on your CV. So it's like a win-win, actually. So, yeah, please think about it. I see there's another one there. Is there any research into generational rural wellbeing? How can we help our young women, daughters? Not a lot is the short answer to that. There is actually a piece of research that is being done at the moment on rural women wellbeing, which could be helpful. I have actually got a book that's in my bookshelf. If I could see it, I'd go and grab it and show you. It's called She'll Be Right. And it's about this, it's older. I think it's from the 19, oh, yeah, I'm just going to grab it. Sorry, guys. Spotted it. This is the book. So please check that out. It might give you some perspective on just what this is about, this topic. And even if it's not something that's new to you, again, it comes back to we're not alone. We suffer this together. We go through this together. If this book validates that, then that's one job done. So might not have all the answers. And we're in interesting times as well. It's worth just saying that we're seeing a different perspective on women's rights, on like I said before, about the ACC sensitive claims, that the demand from that has just gone through the roof. It could be influenced by the Me Too movement, all these other things going on in the media that we all know kind of what we've seen, that it's becoming more well known, I guess, that the things that women have tolerated may not have to be tolerated anymore. So we're in an interesting time. That's a whole different topic for another day. But I wish I could give you some more, but please check the book out.
Hey, look, that's been a fascinating hour. Thank you so much. This is such an important topic. You've given everybody some really, really powerful tips and some good advice. As I say, we'll share this recording and we'll share a copy of Kathryn's slides with you all. Kathryn, you've given us, it's okay to send out your email address? Or
absolutely, yeah. I will respond
to
anybody. Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.